Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and another Marvel actress in particular has spoken up about her personal opinions that diverge from the approved narrative. And that was Evangeline Lilly, who was a star of the Hobbit movies as well as the Ant-Man movies, and I believe she was in Lost as well. And I normally don't agree with Hollywood actors really shouting their political opinions at all, one way or the other. But if you're going to do it, it should be allowed on both sides of the argument. And that's my problem, is there's no neutrality. I think Hollywood and our society in general should be default neutral, and that is in no way the case. Because something as simple as what Evangeline's talking about, what Gina Carano said, what Shuri from the Black Panther movie, what she said, they were all very mild opinions, but they weren't the right opinions, and they had devastating consequences, especially Gina Carano. And it's very much, you have to have our opinions or you're never going to get work again. But more and more people are getting brave and telling the truth, and I think that is important. Whereas I don't really like political opinions being said, doing something like this to break away from the narrative is important. And Evangeline Jolie just said something very simple, like, I don't agree with vax mandates. You can have your opinion on the vaccine, and I don't want to get into politics too much here, but being against the mandate is completely different than being anti-vax, and a lot of people don't realize that, especially in Hollywood, and that's what she's talking about. I believe she had to have been vaccinated to be on a Disney set, and so she's not anti-vax, she's just anti having people tell her what to do or with her body and telling other people what to do with their bodies. And that is an opinion that I wholeheartedly agree with and can sympathize a lot with. And one of her great comments was, I was pro-choice before this, and I still am now. And that's actually a great argument that really confuses a lot of these woke people, because that transpositionary logic really confuses them, because it's the same argument on the same situation, just with a different narrative behind it. And once you expose that different narrative to these people, they start to crack and either realize the truth, run away and get confused, or dig their heels in even more. And we've got an article here from BuzzFeed about some Hollywood actors who came out digging in their heels and calling her out for her supposed wrong think. But let's take a look. Marvel stars like Simu Liu appeared to call out Evangeline Lilly for attending the DC anti-vaccine rally. And she didn't really do anything crazy. It was just a little comment and some pictures. It wasn't like shouting from the rooftops, if you don't agree with me, you're evil. It was just very simple, very straightforward. And I think stuff like that should be allowed on both sides, but it's not. And that's a problem. Lilly is facing backlash from not fans, woke people, Twitter mob. They probably don't even know that much about the movies to begin with. And that's the case with a lot of these woke people like Doctor Who. Everyone was so happy for the female doctor, but those people couldn't tell you two things about Doctor Who. It seems to be the case here. Colleagues alike, after attending last weekend's anti-vax rally I got to start saying anti-poke. YouTube doesn't like the real word. In Washington, D.C. The actor, known best for her Marvel's Ant-Man film series and Avengers Endgame, subsequently wrote about the experience in an Instagram post that has since been flagged with the platform's COVID-19 resource banner. That banner means nothing because it even flags, the accurate stuff. CDC's own stuff is getting flagged, so that really doesn't mean anything. The MCU star, whose comments flouting COVID safety regulations like social distancing were criticized at the pandemic's outset 2 years ago. I don't know if she called it out 2 years ago. That's interesting. Wish I would have known that. Claimed hoax against the disease that had killed millions of people worldwide since 2020 are not the way in her social media caption. Wow. This site is not unbiased. It is biased as fuck. That is totally trying to give you an opinion on that. And I think that most news sites should be default neutral, default non-biased, but that's not the case anymore. And that's just really sad, because that was like, she's advocating for something that has killed millions of Americans. It's like, yeah, but it's also got a 99.9999% survival rate. And that's not to say that I don't want to get into politics. Like, a lot of the stuff they did was warranted, but erasing all argument and anyone who doesn't believe or agree with the absolute strictest policies is bad. That is where the problem is. As long as you're allowed to have discussion, I don't care what your opinions on this stuff was. But if you're just going to say, you want to kill millions of people, it's like, you're not going to have an adult conversation with me about this. This is not the way. This is not safe. This is not healthy. This is not love. I understand the world is in fear, but I do not believe that answering fear with force will fix our problems. And that is just beautifully encapsulates my own thoughts. I don't care if you're pro-poke, anti-poke, or whatever. I'm not a big fan of the government telling you what to do in anything. I'm very much smaller government the better, so I don't think they should really be involved in this situation much. She wrote after confirming she was in D.C. the weekend of the body sovereignty. Yeah, and she had pictures that were of vax Democrats. So yeah, Democrats are breaking free of the narrative as well. Like, it's really just these woke people that I have a problem with. Nurses for vax, they keep saying listen to your healthcare professionals, and then they ignore that's like something crazy, like 70,000 healthcare professionals in New York were fired because of their opinion on this. Listen to your healthcare professionals, except the ones who disagree with us. And that's just retarded. Feds for medical freedom. Yeah. This is really ambiguous. There's nothing too crazy, but they blew it all out of proportion, as they do most things. It attracted thousands of maskless people from across the country, some of whom chant pro-Trump slogans. It wasn't necessarily a Trump rally or a Republican rally like they had Democrats there, but I'm sure there were people who had Democratic chants as well. It's just, of course, they're only going to report on the ones that they can build a narrative around. Oh my God. Fuck that. I'm not going to read out some of those words out here, but if you can read that. They're not inappropriate. Gina Carano should not have been fired for her post because they're not inappropriate. We have people who literally lived through this event saying there's some comparisons to be made. Of course, it's not the same thing, but there's enough of a comparison to them not to be inappropriate. Just look at what the insane shit that Australia is doing. I really don't want this to be political. Echoing folks on social media who called Lily and her involvement in the rally and pointed to experts' overwhelming assertion. Okay, come on, here we go. Some of her MCU colleagues, such as her Ant-Man co-star David, appeared to respond to her post on Twitter. So, yeah, no, I really enjoyed his performance in this, and he was in The Dark Knight as well, and The Suicide Squad. He was great in The Suicide Squad, but let's see if he has something positive to say. It's so unfortunate when people with a large platform use that platform to share irresponsible things. Man, I liked you. That is not something that should be tweeted. To be fair, what she did shouldn't have been tweeted either, but if it's going to be one's okay, then they both are. But this is just... Let people have their own opinions. Is that not okay anymore? And of course, this guy's going to have... he's going to have some good comments on this. I can't wait to see what insane garbage he comes up with. Who played Shang-Chi, also seemed to reference the controversy in a tweet that highlighted the dangers of not being vaccinated based on his own experience. Of course, there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but even the director of the CDC has come out and says it is not effective in creating immunity to the virus. She said that on CNN. So there's a discussion to be had. I'm not advocating for one position or the other. If you have one side or the other, I don't care. It's just as long as discussion is okay and neutrality is okay, I'm good. But you're not allowed to have a discussion is the problem. I lost my grandparents to COVID, and that is a tragedy, but it is very much grandparents. There are people at risk who need extra help, and that I don't argue with whatsoever. But there is an argument to be had about young children and just young healthy people not needing to worry so much as we do with other diseases. Like, how many 19-year-olds get a shingles vaccine, for example? I've never met one. It's very much based on if you are at risk, do what you need to do based on your personal doctor and your personal medical history. That's kind of where I'm at with this whole situation, because the overall statistics are very much in favor of most everyone's going to be okay. And so her just saying, hey, everyone make their own decisions based on their own medical history, basically what she's saying, like, government don't get involved. Not bad. That is not a bad tweet. But he's saying, I lost my grandparents, which is terrible. But he's trying to manipulate people with his emotions about the situation. There's a lot of vaccinated people who poked, people who are also dying from it as well. So there's an argument to be had. That's what I just want to reiterate. It's not about one side or the other. It's about there is conversation and argument in a mature, logical manner to be had on both sides of the aisle. The media needs to stop spotlighting opinions that are not rooted in facts or science. It is not the media or the government's ability to mess with free speech. And a lot of people don't care about that anymore, and that's just sad. And who was spotlighting her opinions that are not... No one was spotlighting. Is he saying they should have taken down her Instagram post? No, she didn't say anything offensive or probably break TOS. So that seems to be the end of it. But, yeah. Default neutrality. Hollywood pretenders aren't educated enough to have an opinion one way or the other 9 times out of 10. But if it's okay for one side to say stuff like this and stuff like this, then it's okay for her to say stuff like this. Either everything's okay, or both things are okay, or neither of them are. And it's really just awful to see. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.